From the House of Israel in Cincinnati, Ohio, 2330 Kemper Lane, bringing to you in 40 minutes or less. In 40 minutes or less, I will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the word of Yahweh. Who is this Yahweh? Yahweh is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein. Yahweh is the Elohim of our fathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yisrael, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahweh is our judge. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our king, who will save us. Shalom, and praise the mighty Yah. Once again, the Creator has allowed us to come before you another day, bringing to you his great, holy, and exalted words. Today's lesson, lesson 54 of our program, 40 minutes or less, will be our third edition on the law of perfection. Today we will deal with, on the law of perfection, the perfect man. There's perfect angels, there's perfect things, but there's a perfect man. In our last program, we named people that the Creator said was perfect. But now we will show you why the Creator said that. And you want to ask yourself, how do a man become perfect? And let me show you the very scriptures that the Creator left on record, how he judged and how he see a perfect man. And I may add, we will do all this in 40 minutes or less. For it don't take 40 minutes to prove the word of Yahweh. As a matter of fact, most times, oftentimes, it's considerably less. So let us talk about the law of perfection, number 3, the perfect man. How to become a perfect man. And the first scripture that I want you to see is in the book of Psalms 34. And you're going to see why we will go there. And you're going to see also why this type of man, this type of person would be considered perfect. Watch what this says. Psalms 34. And I'm going to read verse 9 and 10, and watch what it says. Oh, fear Yahweh, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek Yahweh shall not want any good thing. So what is this letting us know about a perfect man? Well, it's simple. The first thing you have to learn to do in understanding the characteristics and the qualities of a perfect man, you got to study perfect men. That's why the scriptures say, mark the perfect man, for the end of that man is peace. You got to study perfect men. And one of the men that Yahweh called perfect, look what he said in Psalm 23. And you're going to understand what we just read in Psalm 34. What's this in Psalm 23? Now, mind you, the Almighty called this man perfect. But this is why. In the book of Psalm, the 23rd chapter, the very first verse, says, Yahweh is my shepherd. I shall not want. In other words, to be perfect with Yahweh, you can't want a bunch of stuff. You ain't going to want a bunch of stuff. And why? Because you have an Elohim, you have a creator that has provided for you. Provided for you to the extent that you know, you understand that it's him that's taking care of you. That's him that got your back. That's him that's providing all the various needs, fulfilling all your desires. So guess what? You're not going to want nothing. The scripture says the fear of Yahweh. Let's read that again in Psalms 34. Watch this again. And this is just the first thing. Watch this. Psalms 34, 9th verse. Oh, fear Yah, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. You're not going to want a bunch of stuff, but our people, they can't have enough. Soon as you do this, well, I want that. Soon as you do that, well, I want this. And the goalpost always moves. And the more you do, the more they want. The more they say, the more you lack. But not with Yahweh. When you fear Yahweh, you're not going to want stuff. That's number one. Number two, with the perfect man, and you got to study perfect people. You got to study perfect things. You got to study perfection in order for you to understand what I'm saying. You're not going to want. Number two, in the book of Isaiah 66. Watch what it says. In the book of Isaiah 66, this is the second thing that I found concerning a perfect man. It says in the first verse, or the second verse, Isaiah 66 and 2, for all those things have my hand made, and all those things have been, says Yahweh. But to this man will I look. See, Yahweh is always looking for something, and he's always looking for a certain type of man whom he will call perfect. And watch what he says. Even to him that is poor, which means he's humble. Come from the Hebrew word anah, which means humility, humble, humility, affliction, and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word. In other words, this particular individual, he's all about the Most High. He trembles at the word of Yahweh. His spirit is contrite, which means it's broken. And he's poor. He's humble, not poor in riches. Poor meaning he's humble. And Yahweh is always looking for someone that is broken. And how do you become broken? You don't become broken by doing a bunch of complaining, wanting a bunch of things. That ain't how you become broken. You become broken because you pass over transgressions. You overlook things. You allow people to say things that you would never say. You become broken. People do things that you would never do. You become broken. Yahweh is always looking for that type of person. And let me tell you what Yahweh called it. He called it long-suffering. Now, the mass majority of the people, they're not going to suffer a little bit. They definitely not going to suffer long before they begin to, oh, I got to address this. Oh, I got to get that back. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do that. Or before they become mad, angry, wrathful. Not so with the perfect man. The perfect man don't barely say anything about all the misdeeds that's done to him. Watch this in the book of Psalms 51. And this is why a perfect man develops that type of spirit. In the book of Psalms 51, this is what it says in the 17th verse. The sacrifices of Elohim are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart, O Elohim, thou wilt not despise. See, he can say something back. He can get revenge. He can get vengeance. He know he'll be on the right side of the situation because he's not guilty. But guess what? He made that sacrifice unto Yahweh. He just break his heart. I know my heart wanted to do this and say this and get back, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to break my own heart. Which brings us to number 3. The number 3 characteristic of a perfect man. And where do I get this stuff from? From studying perfect people. Watch what the scripture says in the book of Proverbs, the 20th chapter. Proverbs 20. In the book of Proverbs 20, this is what it says in the 6th verse. Most men will proclaim everyone his own goodness. Yeah, a lot of people want to talk about themselves all the time. But a faithful man, who can find? Because a faithful man, his words are few. A faithful man spares his words. A faithful man conceals most of his knowledge. Because people, chances are people ain't going to listen anyway. So he speak when he think someone is going to take heed. Watch this. In the book of Numbers, the 12th chapter. Talking about the third thing that I seen in a perfect man. In Numbers, the 12th chapter, this is what it says. And even though I didn't mention this man when I was mentioning the names of men that the Creator said was perfect, make no mistake about it. This man here, he's at the top of the list. And watch what it says. In the book of Numbers, the 12th chapter, the 7th verse. I start at the 6th verse. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, Yahweh, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moshe is not so, who is faithful in all my house. In other words, the Almighty said, the scripture says, a faithful man who can find. This man was so faithful, he never had to dream about Yahweh. He never had to have a vision of Yahweh. Yahweh talked to this man face to face as a man speaking unto his friend. That's how faithful the Almighty seen in this man. And if you're going to be perfect, you got to fear Yah and not want nothing. You got to be of a poor and contrite spirit. And you definitely have to be faithful. Because Yahweh is always looking for the faithful. Number 4. Let's see what number 4 is. In the book of Proverbs, the 28th chapter. And this is what it says in Proverbs 28. The 4th thing I seen in the perfect people that I studied, it says in Proverbs 28 and 5, evil men understand not judgment. But they that seek Yahweh understand all things. And why? Because the Almighty, He requires, He desires that we seek Him. And the scripture says, if we seek Him, we shall find Him. The problem is most people don't seek the Most High. They lean to their own understanding. And then those who try to seek Yahweh don't even know how. So therefore, they don't find Him either. But Yahweh's waiting, looking for somebody to seek Him. The scriptures almost beg us to seek the Most High. Watch this in the book of Isaiah 55. And all the perfect men know this. They all have this ability and characteristic to seek the Most High. Not the way they want to seek Him, not the way they want to pray to Him, not the way they want Him to answer them. They seek the Most High according to the knowledge of Elohim. It says in Isaiah 55, the 6th verse, seek ye Yahweh while He may be found. Call upon Him while He is near. See, they know that it's essential to seek the Most High. And they know how. That's what you'll find studying a perfect man. These are the characteristics. I just named their names. But now I'm going into the details to show you the inner man so you can understand how to become a perfect man. Watch this. Number 5, in the book of Daniel, the 5th chapter, the law of perfection, number 3. That's what we're talking about. How to become a perfect man. There's certain characteristics you got to have. That's just the truth. And the only way you're going to know these things is you got to study perfect people. Watch this in the book of Daniel, the 5th chapter. And there's no question whether Daniel was perfect or not. They said Daniel didn't even have a blemish. And watch what the scripture says. This is why. Daniel, the 5th chapter, and we're going to read the 11th and 12th verse. It says, there is a man in thy kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy Elohim. And in his days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the Elohims, were found in him, whom the king Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, the king, I say, thy father, made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. For as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams, showing hard sentences, dissolving of doubts, were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show you the interpretation. In other words, you got to have a certain spirit. And what is that spirit? You got to see if this person's spirit, do he have knowledge? Do he have understanding? Do he have wisdom? Can he answer questions? Can he dissolve doubts? Well, Daniel could. And so could you if you're a perfect man. In the book of Numbers 32, watch this. This is what Yahweh would do. He will give you certain abilities with him. But most people don't know what these abilities are. They don't know what these characteristics are because they never put their mind to it. So therefore, they'd rather just say there's nobody perfect. No perfect, man. Nobody can be perfect. Even though this is totally opposite of what Yahweh said. As a matter of fact, Yahweh commanded that we be perfect. In the book of Numbers 32, watch what this says. And we'll start reading at the 10th verse. And Yahweh's anger was kindled the same time. He swore, saying, surely none of the men that came up out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swore unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me. Yahweh is always looking for somebody that's going to follow him wholly, which means earnestly, sincerely, with their whole heart. And Yahweh's anger was kindled, 12th verse, save Caleb, which means except Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua, the son of Nun, for they have wholly followed Yahweh. See, according to the scriptures, Joshua and Caleb, Yahweh said, look, I'm going to save them. I'm going to spare them because they got another spirit. And see, that's what you find in Daniel. That's what you find in Joshua and Caleb. You got to have a certain spirit for you to be perfect with Yahweh. You got to have a certain spirit. And that spirit is you got to have wisdom, understanding, knowledge, counsel, might. You got to have the spirit to be able to make good decisions with Yahweh. Number 6. Number 6, let's go to the book of Proverbs 19. Because not only you're going to have a certain spirit, little do people know, you have to have certain desires. The mass majority of the people, they desire things that are vain. And these vain things have caused you to become vain, full of vanity. The stuff that you're talking about, the stuff that you're complaining about, the stuff that you say you want is all vanity. It's vanity. But watch where your desires should be at, according to the scriptures, to be perfect. Watch this in the book of Proverbs 19. In the book of Proverbs 19, this is what it says in verse 22. It says, the desire of a man is his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. Little do people know, Yahweh is looking for a kind man. And why? Because Yahweh is kind, full of kindness. Who wants a kind man? Somebody that's always kind. No, we want people, aren't you going to get mad sometimes? Ain't you going to get even sometimes? Aren't you going to get back sometimes? Why can't you holler and scream and cuss sometimes? That's what most people want. They don't want somebody kind, but Yahweh do. Watch this in the book of Proverbs 11. You got to have certain desires. And our people don't desire the right thing. And this is what it says, Proverbs 11. Watch this desire in the 23rd verse. It says, the desire of the righteous is only good, but the expectation of the wicked is wrath. Do you realize when you are truly righteous, you don't never want to see somebody down. You don't want to see nobody mad. You don't want to see somebody angry. You don't want to hurt nobody. Even though we get mad and angry all the time at people. But if they are righteous, and I'm talking about truly righteous and a perfect man, he's righteous. The desire of the righteous is only good. So even though you got mad, even though you didn't like it, even though you had some other type of expectation, a righteous person desires only good anyway. Why don't you know that? Well, I know why. Because you never took the time to study a perfect man. The seventh thing, and I just got 8 things down. The seventh thing is in the book of 1 Samuel, the 13th chapter. Because little also do people know, and they should know this, that to be perfect, you got to have a certain type of heart. All the perfect men do. Everything that I just read to you, all the perfect people I study have all these things. In the book of 1 Samuel 13, this is what it says. The 13th verse. And Samuel said to Saul, thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of Yahweh thy Elohim, which he commanded thee. For now would Yahweh have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now, thy kingdom shall not continue. Yahweh have sought him a man after his own heart. And Yahweh have commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which Yahweh commanded thee. So here Yahweh is looking and sought. The word sought means to seek, to look for, to find out. He sought a man after his own heart. He wanted somebody that thought like him. And he found him. And his name was David, who he himself said he had a perfect heart. And why? Because he sought a man after his own heart. Watch this in the book of Psalm 112. Psalm 112. Talking about a perfect man. See, there are certain things you got to know. And there's certain characteristics you got to have. In the book of Psalm 112, this is what it says. And I'm going to read the 7th verse. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in Yahweh. In other words, all the perfect men, they all had this in common. Their heart was so fixed on Yahweh, they didn't care about nobody talking evil. Did you know so-and-so did such and such? Did you know such and said this? Did you know this? I don't care. My heart is fixed. And I trust in Yahweh. So somebody lying against me, somebody tale-bearing against me, somebody scorning against me, somebody threatening my life, my heart is fixed. All perfect men, their heart was fixed. They trusted in Yah. So guess what? They were not afraid of evil tidings. And the last thing, not only do you have to have a certain mind, certain heart, type of heart, you got to have a certain type of mind. All the perfect men does. They have this type of mind. And this is what it says. This is the type of mind. In the book of 1 Chronicles, the 28th chapter, and this is what it says in the 9th verse. And thou, Solomon my son, Know thou the Elohim of thy father. You got to know him if you're going to be perfect. Serve him with a perfect heart and with a willing mind. For Yahweh searcheth all hearts. He understands all the imagination of the thoughts. If thou seek him, he will be found of thee. But if thou forsake him, he will cast thee off forever. So Yahweh, he needs you to have a certain mind. And if you do have a certain mind, and if you develop that certain mind, look what Yahweh said will happen. In the book of Isaiah, the 26th chapter. Watch what it says. Isaiah 26, and we're going to read the 3rd verse. It says, thou will keep him in perfect peace. Who in perfect peace? Who don't want perfect peace? Whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusted in thee. Do you realize that once your mind is on Yahweh, your mind is fixed on Yahweh, he will keep you in perfect peace? Now, all this can be a lie. I know that it's not. But if you want to be perfect, then you're going to have to search and see whether I'm telling you the truth or not. The law of perfection. Number 3, the perfect man. How to be a perfect man. Until our next lesson, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom.